Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. And earlier today, I saw a piece by Rowan Dean, who is a longtime anchor over at Sky News and somebody who's kind of been in the, I would say, entertainment and media business, as he talks about not only propaganda in the piece we're going to show you, but that he used to run ads for a living. And the original piece I saw was from several days ago. It's The Great Reset in Davos at the forefront of the great deception in the free world. And I totally agree with that headline. And basically everything he has to say in that piece. But we may get to that one, we may not. Because this piece that he did about 5 weeks ago is extremely powerful. And the thing is, this guy is on Sky News. He is what we like to call an authoritative source. Imagine that. Authoritative sources calling out inherent tyranny through globalism, okay, on the airwaves. So shout out to Rowan Dean. These two pieces are absolutely phenomenal. I don't know that I could have done a better job myself. And without further ado, we will get into it in just a moment. But I do want to remind everybody what you're about to hear. If I were to say it, I don't know, maybe harmful content. We're not sure. We've been demonetized 7 months plus, no explanation. We can't even get reviews on thumbnails. We couldn't do it without your support. $5, $10, $15. It absolutely means the world to me. Consider giving down below in the GoFundMe. If you're not on Rockfin yet, what are you waiting for? Sign up for Rockfin right now after the video and create that free account so you can get the exclusives that we're doing at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. We still have today's exclusive, which is almost 2 hours long, over on Rockfin. Check out all the documentary films. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share, and buckle up because we're about to let Mr. Rowan Dean do his thing.
We've all heard of Davos and the World Economic Forum. That's that gabfest that takes place every January in the beautiful Swiss town of Davos. And apart from all the lovely pop stars and movie stars who jet in on their private Learjets, all sorts of major corporations and governments, including ours, send delegates to this flash red carpet economic event every year. Indeed, since the very first outsiders, we here on this show have highlighted the absurdity, hypocrisy, and sheer repugnance of billionaires like Bono prattling on about the evils of capitalism. And of course, last year we had the silliness of Greta Thunberg lecturing world leaders about climate change. What a joke. Well, this week we had some good news. Maybe because they're panicking that not enough squillionaires will feel like heading out to the freezing Swiss Alps in the middle of the coronavirus, the World Economic Forum announced a couple of days ago that Davos in January has been postponed.
Postponed, but they actually do name when it is going to go on. And this guy really starts to nail it down.
Let's face it, it's never a good look when you're banging on about global warming and it's snowing outside. And the World Economic Forum will now take place in late spring, much warmer, in the luxury Bergenstock resort overlooking Lake Lucerne, where the event will be hosted on both sides of the beautiful lake and glitzy delegates can be ferried across the glittering waters. How nice for them. But I wonder if there isn't more to the postponement of Davos than the weather and the virus. I wonder if perhaps certain governments and corporations are beginning to get, well, cold feet, as it were, about the next World Economic Forum. Because they certainly should be.
How much can you like this guy? And I don't think they're getting cold feet at all. I think they're being emboldened by what's going on. I think it's absolutely obscene. And again, he's going to do a great job of explaining how obscene it really is.
You see, the next World Economic Forum isn't just some lovey jet-setters climate gabfest. It's an anti-democratic enterprise designed to destroy your job, steal your prosperity, and rob your kids of a future. It's a hardcore, leftist, eco-horror show replete with quasi-fascism. I spoke a couple of weeks ago here about the disturbing trend among many of the world's left-wing elites to increasingly conflate COVID-19 with climate change.
And we talked about that. One of the clips he's not going to play, although he's going to play some of Prince Charles, is the one where we talk about Prince Charles saying, you know, we need this to be like a military effort. A military effort among this great reset.
With many going so far as to suggest that all the measures applied to the coronavirus, the lockdowns, the destruction of businesses, the suppression of dissent, curfews, strong-arm police tactics, should become the new normal for dealing with climate change. And indeed, that is precisely what the next World Economic Forum is planning to do, to convince governments, with the help of big business and big tech, to bring about something deeply, deeply sinister called the Great Reset. The what? Precisely, it sounds kind of crazy enough, but it is a program designed to strip us of all our fundamental democratic rights in favour of a new form of society as dictated by the elites. First of all, here's a bit of the official promo ad for the Great Reset.
And this ad is completely frightening and, you know, total and complete propaganda, replete with propaganda. That's the only thing this is. And he does such an eloquent job of breaking it down on how they say, look, if you just give over everything to us at the push of a button, everything will be great again. Notice how they threw the little automation in there. I just want to point out, as this absurdity is going on, everything they're showing you here at the end of how beautiful the world could be is how beautiful the world is. Okay? Just because they're trying to say that that could be possible again, it's possible now because that's what's reality. You bastards. Okay? And again, they're trying to make it as human beings are the reason we don't have this everywhere, and yet it exists right now.
How lovely. As someone who made ads for many years for a living, let me tell you that that is just about as cliched and vomit-inducing as the most inane corporate ad can possibly be. But let me deconstruct it for you. In a nutshell, this promo is saying that all the very worst things in the world, from the coronavirus to bushfires, to riots, to pollution, to poverty, are somehow linked. Then it is claiming that they can magically disappear, literally at the push of a button. And just like that, everything in the world is made right and pure again. The Great Reset. What could be simpler?
The World Economic Forum in January 21, which will serve as a global summit devoted to the Great Reset. This summit will bring the decision makers physically to Davos.
The decision makers physically to Davos. The decision makers. Not somebody we elected, not somebody who is part of our constitutional republic or that agenda. No, no, no. The decision makers.
But it will be interconnected with a virtual twin summit driven by the young generation, our global shapers. They will integrate over 400 hubs into the dialogue of Davos and ensure that the Global Reset Initiative is really forward-looking and takes into account the voices of all who are left behind.
Now, put aside for the moment that bloke looks like he's auditioning for the head of Smersh in the next James Bond movie. He's in fact Klaus Schwab, the founder and head of the World Economic Forum. He is a total whack job, in my opinion, and I'll get into that in a second. He's a big fan of drones, algorithms, and the Chinese Communist Party, and he believes there's a fourth industrial revolution underway that is changing what it means to be human. And he peddles this sicko fantasy that humans and machines will somehow merge in his green utopia.
Again, this is that transhumanist agenda we told you about in the very beginning of COVID 1984, of that slow rollout. 9/11 meets the stock market crash with a medical martial law flavor. And that medical martial law flavor is bringing us an automation nation, UBI dependent populace in hopes of a transhumanist spectacular on behalf of these people. Remember, Klaus Schwab wants your what? Your digital, physical, and biological identity to be one thing.
Bonkers, like I said. But this lunatic has some very, very powerful friends determined to push the Great Reset button along with him.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play.
Now is the time to think what history would say about this crisis. What is it that would make it so that history would look at this crisis as the great opportunity for reset?
You must love all these people talking about this being an opportunity. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity.
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. It is imperative that we reimagine, rebuild, redesign, reinvigorate, and rebalance our world. Rebalancing investment, harnessing science and technology, and advancing the transition to net zero emissions, all elements of the Great Reset, are fundamental to building the future we need.
Every time I hear net zero emissions, that's an imagination land thing. Unless you destroy all life on Earth that emits carbon, right? It will never happen. It will never happen. It will never happen. And by the way, they're never going to tell you that. They're going to be like, no, you got to understand the plants have photosynthesis and they're taking the carbon dioxide. But, if that's even, then we're great. It'll never be enough for these people because it's not about that. It's about control.
Ah, yes, net zero emissions, the great climate cult mantra. The Prince of Wales, the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations, all determined to redesign and reimagine the entire world, what it means to be human, how money works, how political will can be enforced. And here are just a few other tasty tidbits scheduled for the Great Reset.
We had already income inequality that was fueling income, race, gender inequality. We have a climate emergency, which we can't walk away from. There's no doubt that the very survival of the human race requires us to act.
There's no doubt.
Any recovery stimulus should have green conditions attached to it. Energy prices should reflect real costs.
You need private sector capital, private sector ingenuity, private sector technology, and private sector capabilities to come to the party. You need enormous trust between the private sector and the public sector for this to actually work.
We have to change our economy dramatically in the next 20 or 30 years, and the next 10 years is absolutely decisive.
The recovery has to be greener than any of the previous recoveries. And in order to do that, we need to ensure that the stimulus package, including fiscal and monetary, are much greener than they were before.
All of it. All of it an agenda they've been pushing and pushing and pushing and telling you what? The science is settled, Jason. It's settled science. Have you heard about the settled science? The science is settled, Jason. And every single time, it's a power grab in which they don't really have a plan, right, to get rid of any of these toxic emissions that they're doing with big business, but they'll pay fines and taxes. They'll have to buy carbon credits, Jason. It'll be a great new economic system. It'll be a great new reset.
Prince Charles insists all the levers at our disposal must be used to enforce the Great Reset. How on earth that one sentence alone does not disqualify Charles from ever succeeding to the throne is beyond me. He is now not only fully immersed in hardcore left-wing eco-politics, he is advocating some bizarre form of eco-fascism. The Queen must step in and insist he have nothing further to do with this freak show. After all, we are currently seeing in Victoria just what it looks like when all the levers at our disposal are being used to enforce the COVID-19 restrictions, which include curfews, lockdowns, enforced mask wearing, shutting down of businesses, making you stay within 5 kilometres of your own home, not visiting the dying rellos, and on and on. Remember.
I mean, the guy's nailing it. And hey, he's got a great accent. He's well lit. He's in a suit. And he's on television. Okay? It shows you, just like with that British medical journal article that I've been highlighting, right? That, you know, the BMJ started how long ago? And it's 180 years. And somehow, some way, everybody's just ignoring the article on corruption inside, you know, these scientific communities and the politicization of it. Weird.
It's not me linking COVID to climate change. It is these lunatics, including Charles and the United Nations and the IMF, who want to replicate the global response to COVID and repurpose it for climate change, to enforce zero net emissions. Just to remind you, this bloke Schwab is the kingpin of the World Economic Forum, the chief body that wants a globalized world with a partnership between governments and big business, globalization that basically runs the show. In this week's Spectator magazine, Morris Newman writes, already Professor Schwab and his colleagues have started mobilizing vast networks of left-wing activists. Those who scoffed at claims that climate change was a stalking horse for a new world order should think again.
A new world order. Who put ClimateGate in their film Invisible Empire, A New World Order? Oh, wait, I did. 10 years ago. 10 plus years ago. I was saying that this would be a vehicle for globalism. That the United Nations would be a vehicle for globalism. That a track trace database society had already been set up. Please watch that film after this.
That reality is now in full view. Intense pressure will be applied to parliaments everywhere to pass enabling laws and to abdicate more responsibilities to unelected bureaucrats in global institutions. Crony capitalism is anathema to genuine market economies, and giving more leverage to those who encourage it is fascistic, says Morris Newman. Schwab has written extensively about humanity being altered by machines, nanotechnology. He's a big fan of drones, artificial intelligence. Weirdly enough, Daniel Andrews recently ditched attempts to detain people on the suspicion that they might be about to disobey COVID regulations, has eerie echoes in Schwab's boasting how technologies can intrude into the hitherto private space of our minds, reading our thoughts and influencing our behaviour. And Schwab predicts, as capabilities in this area improve, the temptation for law enforcement agencies and courts to use techniques to determine the likelihood of criminal activity, assess guilt, or even possibly retrieve memories directly from people's brains will increase.
That's not a transhumanist agenda. That's not pre-crime. That's not something to be concerned about. That couldn't possibly be also integrated into the Department of Justice here at home and their new pre-crime units, right?
All of this, Schwab says, is redefining what it means to be human. Sounding like a demented character in a Batman comic, Schwab also writes gleefully that sensors, memory switches, and circuits can be encoded in human gut bacteria, and that smart dust, arrays of full computers with antennas, can now organize themselves inside the body. Yep, this Marvel Comics whack job runs the world's most prestigious economic forum, and every year our corporate CEOs and business leaders go groveling to him at Davos, and worse, our government wastes your money sending senior politicians and highly paid public servants to dance to this madman's tune. It's a disgrace. Oh, and did I mention he's a huge fan of China as the leader of his brave new world?
It was very appropriate to invite the president to join us, and he, as the leader of the country, to talk to us about the future's engagement of China in global affairs and the leadership role.
In global affairs at the leadership role, in global affairs at the leadership role, in global affairs at the leadership role. China was always the beta test. And they're not in beta anymore with their social credit score. So gear up and get ready to fight back. If you saw my video earlier today, now is the time for action. This is a reality. We're probably going to do a round 2 later on with the other news piece with Rowan Dean. He just absolutely knocked it out of the park on that one. So we'll save this one. Maybe we'll do a Ask Me Anything later tonight where we play his latest report. But again, we've been talking about what? A transhumanist agenda. A transhumanist agenda. Is this a transhumanist agenda? Is that what the Great Reset is? A transhumanist agenda? I don't know. What do you think? You can read their own writings and listen to what they say and what they put out there into the public ether. And I'm glad, again, a man in a nice suit who's well lit on the television is telling his audience this. Guys, we are fully demonetized here. 7+ months. We're dangerous. It's dangerous to talk about these things, but it's a reality, and we're going to continue to do so. And with your support, we've been able to do so. And the thing is, who knows if we're going to be around? But through the GoFundMe, we do it multiple times a day. I'm coming up in less than 23 minutes now with Dr. Bartlett out of Texas to talk about budesonide as a non-authoritative possible treatment for COVID-19 84. And we're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff. So I'm very excited about that. We do that with your help, and we do exclusives over at Rockfin at 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. Go make the free account, because if I do get booted from YouTube, this is where you're going to find me. So go make the free Rockfin account right now. Join that platform. Join me live, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Go check out the documentary films, especially Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture. Okay, you want to know what this is about? Those are the 2 movies for you. Please go check them out. Share the links with other people and try to debunk me. I mean, the mouths of babes are moving as we speak. Thumbs it up on the way out. Only 100 thumbs, guys. Let's get it to 200 before you go. And join the Burmese Brigade if you're already not a part of it. We will see you all soon on the flip side. Absolutely love it.